How are you, bud?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. Good to see your beautiful face.
Likewise.
I just,
How was your vacation?
it was good. It's I always have fun the first like 3 to 5 days of the vacation, and then I start to get antsy, and then I'm
Antsy?
like,
Yep.
you know, I think this is just how entrepreneurs act, in that like we can't turn our minds off like too long, or we
Yep.
start to freak out. In the back of my head, I'm going, oh God, like I have so much to do. Like I see the emails starting to pile up
Yeah.
and see everything just start to pile up. And then I see, in terms of like content creation, I see, everyone creating content and putting out videos. And I love doing that now where I'm I'm looking at these videos and I'm going, I should be doing that. And what's funny is I brought all my gear to like shoot videos and I just had no time to actually do it because we were just going from activity to dinner. I just, I didn't have any time. So,
That's probably a good thing though, honestly. Like
yeah,
get some forced breaks.
yeah,
Uh
exactly. You gotta take a break. And what's funny is like because I had a break, my mind had time to think about other ways to solve certain problems both in my business and in terms of like the content, in terms of like
mhm.
creating other types of content, things like that. So all in all, it was net positive, but at the end I was like, okay, I'm ready to go.
Yeah. I always have that kind of like that fear of missing out on work or news or whatever, like going into those things and then coming out of it, I was like, oh damn, I actually needed that way more than I like realized. And that
Yeah.
was, it's like I never regret doing those things after the fact. It's always just that apprehension beforehand of like, oh, like, am I gonna, like, I'm not gonna get anything done or whatever it may be. But yeah, like you said, I think it's the one of the fallacies of being an entrepreneur and just like you can't turn it off.
Yeah, and you need time to reset, and especially when you're an entrepreneur, you're always on. Like,
Yeah.
I talk to people that have 9 to 5s, and it's like night and day in terms of like how we operate. Because my brain is constantly, when I'm watching a movie, a TV show, driving in the car, I'm always thinking, even if it's in the back of my head, about
Hmm.
what needs to get done, how I can solve certain problems, and whether it's a blessing or a curse, it's helped in a lot of ways in that I've been able to be successful. But when it's like 9, 10 o'clock at night and you can't shut off your brain, it's kind of a curse.
I feel that. Yeah. I don't know any other way though. Like for me now it's just like hearing my friends that have 9 to 5s and talk about that life, like there's nothing that you could pay me a no amount of money that would, well, maybe with these meta offers that are coming out, but
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's just like I can't even, especially because it's not something that you would then control. Like it's some,
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody else's
And
project.
I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people become entrepreneurs is because they like that feeling of control. I know
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I became an entrepreneur and started my own thing, because I was working for people and I was going, this is so inefficient. Like what we're doing is incorrect, and not only is it incorrect and taking me longer to do this, and we're getting a worse output. I'm getting paid like peanuts compared to like I know what you're charging the client. So that's
Yeah.
why I made the mental, like it was very easy for me to make that mental switch into becoming an entrepreneur because I had such terrible jobs when I was younger. How long have you been doing your own thing?
Uh, the only job I ever really had was when in college when I was working. Well, there's like I had two jobs in college. The first was I was the mascot for a season.
No way. What was the mascot? Who were
Bucky the
you?
Bronco.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've got
That's so funny. It's my mom was actually the mascot of her high school, and my mother-in-law was, I think, the mascot of her either college or high school. So that's so funny.
yeah. I was very familiar. Like in high school, me and my friend group were always the ones, doing all the cheers and the student section and all that. And then I had some friends that were on the women's dance team, and I was like, oh, that'd be a cool way to like hang out with more girls,
Yeah,
basically.
exactly.
And the reason I found it though was because I was like searching through the directory of jobs, and I was just like sort by highest paid, like
Right,
highest
right.
per hour, and that one was at the very top because you physically can't be in the suit for more than like a couple hours at a time.
Sure.
And but funny enough, like the year that I did it, we like at Santa Clara, we only had a basketball team. We didn't have a football team. The basketball team was actually like pretty decent that year, and they made it to the March Madness in Vegas. So I got to travel to Vegas as the mascot with the dance team and like do Vegas with 30 women and me basically, and probably one of the all time Vegas experiences before I even moved here, which is
Wow,
hilarious.
that's awesome. That's so cool. And
So
then
that was
after that, you started your own business, right? Like after you graduated college.
well. So then I did that for I hate, and then it was just like it sucked basically so much to do that job. You're just sweating and just
Sure,
like
yeah.
and your Friday night, like all the nights that we would go out, like I was just like in this suit sweating basically. So did that for a season, and then quickly after that, I found that there was a vape shop opening up down the road, and basically just like walked in before they opened. I was like, "Hey, do you like? Can I get a job?" Basically, and then long story short, worked there for like 2 years, and then by the time I graduated, I bought out the other owner. Then that my business partner with that company, we converted that to e-commerce,
Oh,
and
nice.
then we did our whole e-commerce run from 2015 to 2020, basically 2014 to 2020, doing that business and like 10 other like all a lot of these projects in the background are all those e-commerce brands. And then once e-commerce kind of fell off
Yeah.
for us at least, then I went to agency to SaaS, basically.
Wow, geez. You've been all over the map. Whereas I've just been on the agency side and on the AI side.
Yeah.
Um, that's crazy, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in high school, the my kind of like early, I mean, the reason why I got into Santa Clara was because in high school I was working for a startup. I was just messing around during the summer, trying to like make iPhone apps, and then a family friend had a startup that I was like, you need to make this into an iPhone app, and then he was like, okay, do it, and then I did it, and then that was actually my first experience of coming. Like, I have a weird kind of like rolling history with Vegas. Like, when I was 15, 16 years old, I got to go to CES in Vegas and was going to these investor meetings and demoing the app because I was the only one that knew how it worked. And that gave me the insight of like, oh, I can create things that provide value enough to where like these old rich dudes are like wanting to talk to me.
Right.
And at that time, I mean, that was 2010, 2011, and like I had no idea of like what was going to happen, but wrote an essay about that, and that's how I got into Santa Clara, and that
Oh,
was like
wow.
peak Silicon Valley time. Like the show Silicon Valley was like
Yeah.
airing during that period. Um, yeah, like that combined with watching the social network movie and like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I need to make $1 billion with software. Like it
Yeah.
always kind
Yeah.
of stuck in my head.
Yeah, that's so funny. I had a very similar like mental experience when I first started my agency when we all have imposter syndrome, right? Before we kind of really make the jump into any business. I remember one of my first big clients going into a meeting and just knowing in the back of my head, I was like, I have no, like, I knew what I was doing more than them, but you have this imposter syndrome telling you like you're not good enough, like you don't know what you're talking about. And then getting into that meeting with a bunch of quote unquote like executives and
Yeah.
rich people or whatever you want to call them, but and essentially just knocking it out of the park because I did know things that they didn't know. And so I was able to speak to things with a level of confidence that, I guess impressed them enough to hire me. And that's really when I made that mental switch of like, oh, like you can do this. Like you don't need to have gone to some top tier Ivy League school, that like to have learned all these things. You essentially just need to know more than them to up to a point and then be willing to work really, really hard and then have a level of confidence and be able to,
Yeah.
tell them, be a good storyteller, be a good, telling them what needs to be done. And once I learned that, it's like everything changed, and I was able to kind of move into, talking to bigger and bigger clients, and yeah, it's just funny how that works.
Yeah, that's the soft skills that not everyone has like organically, but you can like that's a muscle that you can work on and grow.
100%, yeah,
Like I always remember in school like doing presentations and stuff and like that nervousness that you get before going up and giving that type of presentation. But then when I started working on my own brands and my own businesses and things, and then doing presentations on my own business,
yeah.
I could go up there with no notes, answer every question. It's like that flip of being like, oh, now I have the confidence to talk about anything. I'm like, I want to feel like that for forever. Like, and
Oh,
just
yeah.
that is that's such a hard thing to kind of capture and tell people about, but like that's always what I've been chasing, and now doing it for many years, talking with people and knowing the answers to the questions before they even ask the question. It's like it's such a confidence boost every time that kind of happens, which is the non-monetary benefits I think of doing your own thing as well.
Yeah, you really do learn so much owning your own or running your own business, especially at the start. One of the things you mentioned before about the iPhone app that I'd love to get your take on. So did you learn like Xcode, like how to actually like code? Okay. So what
Yeah.
do you think about all of these like kids or agencies that are using tools like Cursor and all these new like AI coding tools to actually like spin up these apps? So have you been hearing about all of that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. I mean, I learned like I remember refreshing the IO like my first iPhone was the 3G I think. The
Yeah.
second one.
Oh,
And I
okay.
remember like refreshing the updates thing on iTunes at the time to get iOS 3 to be able to download the App Store. I remember that because beforehand it was all jailbreaking and Cydia
Right,
and like
yeah.
so I had that kind of like early uh, experience with trying to jailbreak an iPhone and all that, which then carried over to oh, how can I do this quote unquote legally?
Right.
And I had to learn Objective C, which was how they were building them before Swift was released.
Mm.
And Xcode had just been released, and you could only run it on a Mac, and Macs were still super expensive. So I was like, I can't even. So I had to like go to my friend's house to try to like figure out. So like between games of COD, we were like trying to figure out how to get it working, and eventually when I started working with this startup, they basically just bought me a computer and they're like, go away, like just like I don't think they were really ever expecting me to come up with something, but that summer I spent an entire summer just figuring it out, reading this book that's right here that I bought at Barnes and Noble. It's called iPhone Application Development in 24 Hours.
Oh, wow.
LOL.
LOL, yeah.
Yeah,
Try
not
3
24
months.
hours. Yeah, maybe yeah, 4 to 6 months. But then like I remember I have such a vivid memory of like after months of trying to get this thing to work and figuring out the app approval process. And this was me with 1 year of high school Java, like high school computer science class and YouTube. Like I had no, I wasn't a programmer, an engineer, or a coder at all. I was just trying to hack it together and make it work. And then one night I got it submitted, and then like the next morning or whatever, like 7, 8 a.m., like I got the email back that it was approved in the App Store. Funny enough, I did it wrong, so it was under my personal name, not the company
Oh,
name.
I'm sure they
But I
love
remember
that.
like running downstairs and telling my parents, like, look, like I got it. It's like there, like you can download it now on the App Store. But that was like months and months and months of work, and like, staying up all night long, so many different things. And
Right.
I see all these AI tools now, and even people in our group who are like, "Oh, I did this in 24 hours."
Yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like,
Well,
"Oh
that's why
my
I wanted to
God."
get your thoughts on everything. Also, because I just did, I don't know if you saw my latest video, a video on Rourke AI, which is basically you can create a mobile app just by talking to it, like the same way you'd create like a site or an app on Lovable or Bolt,
Mm.
and that's what our buddy Marcin did to build his app. He created it on Rourke. And
Ah,
then, yeah, he was able to launch it within 24 hours, which I was amazed by. I thought the approval process is really like the gateway or like the speed bump, I guess you could say, that kind of like, keeps people out of the App Store. But the fact that he was able to do it in 24 hours blows my mind.
it makes a lot of sense. Like I haven't done anything with iOS or Apple developer accounts in a decade, but I remember the issue, and it makes sense that AI would be able to solve for all these problems because and when I was doing it, it was like weeks of trying to get the dumbest little things, like how I would have to create multiple different sizes of the icons of the app icon to scale to different screen sizes. And if those weren't in the right format and the right naming sequence, blah blah blah, like the app would just get rejected.
Yeah,
And there's so many different things that you have to like kind of mentally. I had to keep mentally tabs on all those things where it makes sense why like the approval process would be quicker now, even with probably 1,000x more submissions. That all that stuff is just put into the right place from the very beginning. Upload your PNG and then instant boom, everything's just done for you, totally fine. Um, I, I mean, I would have loved to have these tools back in
I'm
the day.
sure. Yeah, I mean, the fact that it makes it that quick means that the bottleneck is no longer the actual production process. The bottlenecks then lie in the idea and then the distribution.
I was literally going to say that. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but also, if we're talking about the idea, what a lot of people are doing are just either straight up copying other apps or they're taking like a big app and kind of niching it down, right? So you could think, Uber for X or Duolingo for Y. You know what I mean? Just kind of niching it down a bit or kind of pivoting into another direction. And then in terms of distribution, I've been seeing a lot of people essentially gaming TikTok as a way to get tons and tons of views, which has been around for a while. It was big during like the e-commerce days, like when people were launching their own e-commerce stores or drop shipping or anything like that, where you essentially work with influencers, and this is kind of starting to shift a bit now in the AI age. You work with influencers, you pay them, whatever it is, and you hope that one of those videos on TikTok goes super viral. But what's I'm starting to see now people do is AI influencers where they have like the AI in a green screen as they're kind of talking, which kind of, if it's just an AI influencer talking, you can kind of start to see the like subtle things that make it AI. But if they're on a green screen background and they're small on the screen, you're not really paying attention to that person. You're really paying attention to whatever's going on in the green screen. That's a really good strategy. And another one is just the slideshows. They're just like mass creating like AI like slideshows on TikTok, which is another way, they're getting a ton of views.
This is how I know our feeds are almost probably identical at
Probably,
this
yeah.
point. I have a buddy that is also kind of in the same has the same algorithm, so to speak. So he started his iOS mobile application, same type of concept. He found a problem where the existing applications that solve this problem, it's called Bambi. It's for new parents, and it helps like track your baby's sleep and feeding times and advice and things like that. And it's public, it's launched and everything. And this is my buddy Brock, who I do my other podcast with,
Yeah.
and called Agency to SaaS. And so we've been talking a lot about all of these different strategies and what he's looking at and how that process works. And one of the things that we've honed in on is consumer first, like consumer first or consumer led applications, where it's not B2B like with my thing in Stammer. It's an end consumer app, and that makes those AI avatar videos where they're like, here's this, or they do a demo where the camera's like pointing down and then having the AI influencer on top of it. You can spin up those, hundreds of those at a time,
Yeah.
with the same B-roll essentially of the app. And like you said, the carousels are just, ripping like crazy. But one of the things that we've realized is the amount of volume that you need to make up to get to where, like Stammer is, where the average order or average subscription value is in the hundreds of dollars versus sub $10 potentially.
Right, exactly.
And, just simple math at that point, but it's like he would need to get, 10, 20, 30,000 subscribers in order to get to where we are with Stammer.
Right.
And
that's
like,
yeah, and that's not even, I'm sure the churn rate on mobile apps, especially like those, is super, super high, right? So 1 month you might make, let's say hypothetically, $100,000, but then the next month, if you have a churn rate of, 50%, you could, go back down to, 50,000 or less. So yeah, I think it is the gold rush for mobile apps, because you can, a 15-year-old can go on Cursor and figure it out by themselves, and then, call up some of their buddies who have maybe like TikTok theme pages or Instagram theme pages, or, they've figured out some strategies for getting a ton of views in their age range or demographic, by just capitalizing on trends. But, to your point, I think it's super volatile in terms of like, I think you're gonna see people make a ton of money one day and then not a ton of money the next day, especially because once, we have all these tools now that show us which of these apps are making the most amount of money. So once an app starts making a ton of money, a ton of copycats just come in, spin up the same thing, and then use the exact same distribution strategy on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it is.
Yep.
So a lot of money to be made, but I think B2B is a little bit more safer, because again, to your point, you can charge higher rates. You kind of lock them in. Once they get on whatever platform it is, it's much harder for them to move over. But at the same time, you can spin up an app the same way in Cursor or whatever.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I've never publicly shared Stammer revenue or do that type of build in public, because like, why would I? First, I think sharing your revenue is an ego thing, like especially if you've never made money. Like I wanna like boast about it, but I quickly realized, like, being around other wealthy people, like you don't do that.
Yeah, 100%. And I've always been skeptical of the build in public process. I get it. I get early on, it's probably a very good way to get your first customers. But you really do open this can of worms that maybe you don't want other people seeing certain aspects of how your business is run or your numbers, because
Yeah.
what's stopping people from using that against you?
Exactly. And I mean, it's a network effect, but I think in the wrong network.
Right.
Like it's attractive to people like you and me because it's like, oh, this person's making 50, $100,000 a month. Like, what are they doing? I want to see
Right.
what their strategy is and what their product is. But like their end customer or the average person is probably is like,
Right.
I don't
Why would I?
care. Like,
Right. Yeah. Or if
why would
they
I
do
use,
care, it's such a
yeah,
small percentage compared to, what's the price or what are the features? What are the real benefits that I'm getting? It might just like pique their interest, but like at the end of the day, I don't think it is something
yeah,
that a broadly like end consumer would, really care about. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I think so in that sense, I think it's an internal ego thing. And then the other is just you're creating your own competitors. And it's like, why would you want to do that? Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So I wonder then what the future of SaaS and, building products online really looks like, because I do feel like we're going through this evolution where, you know, the barriers to entry have gotten so low with Lovables, cursors, or whatever you use to
Yeah.
build, that is it price wise or revenue wise a race to the bottom? Like, what do you think it looks like in, let's say, I want to say the next 5 years, but like maybe the next year or two?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to get your thoughts.
We're doing this already. I think it's the ability to spin up your own internal tools, which makes other SaaS products not needed.
Right.
So a good example of this is an analytics platform. We were going around trying to look at all these different analytics platforms to figure out, what would be the right solution to us or for us. And some were pretty good, some were terrible, but none actually met all the requirements that we needed in order to pull all of our data into one place to have our team be able to make actionable decisions
Right.
and do them quickly, not have to navigate through another dashboard or like another thing. So we assigned one engineer to tackle this project, and within like 3 days, she had a working demo and UI fully built with Cursor.
Wow.
And we implemented it into our application, not into like our management or our back end. It's like it's in the actual application itself for super users to be able to quickly query a user's email, and then we get all their stats, everything that we would want to know, and that can happen within 5 seconds. And it's not, we don't have to log into anything else. It's right there. And
Yeah.
so like all in maybe 2 weeks of development full time. So maybe 50 to 80 hours of work.
Yeah.
That would be the same cost as us paying an analytics platform for maybe 2, 3 months, maybe.
Right.
But now we own it, and it works specifically to our own needs. And I think that's what we're going to see in the grand scheme of things, where there's going to be core software applications that everyone's going to use, but if it doesn't work exactly for what you want, it's going to be cheaper and easier for you to just build it internally using AI rather than paying some other software platform to do it for you.
Yeah. No, it's funny that you say that, because I just read a tweet. You follow Chamath. I can't say his last name.
Polyapatia.
Yeah, Polyapatia. Okay, you got it. Damn. I don't
Shout
know.
out All In.
Did you see? Yeah, yeah. I love that podcast. It's a great podcast. Did you see he's starting a company called 8090?
I remember, I semi, but refresh me.
Yeah. Okay. So he's starting a company called 8090, where essentially he's working with an offshore team that is, well, this offshore team is working with AI tools like Cursor, and they will build you an 80, I believe I'm getting this right, an 80% feature rich product of whatever enterprise software that you use at 90% of whatever you're paying, which I thought at the time I was like, how is he going to make any money off of this? But then I'm thinking this is exactly where the industry is going anyway. So he's just getting out ahead of it, right? Because eventually, and I don't know if it's going to be a race to the bottom, but these companies that are charging not just hundreds, but thousands, if not tens of thousands a month for what can now be made in like a day, a weekend, you know, I think that is a really interesting kind of business model to kind of get out ahead of with that, 80, 90, business that he's created.
The one thing I will say that I've started to learn more because I've started to do more work with my dev shop basically with other people's, helping other people bring their products to life, where they are starting with Cursor or Lovable or Bolt or some sort of AI vibe coding platform, and we're trying to bring that into production to be able to ready to scale.
Right.
And if you don't have the experience of being like a senior level engineer prior to using AI, you're like, oh, I could just build this on Lovable and launch it and it will like be fine and it'll work. But as
Right.
we know, like that there's so many horror stories that are already out there of people running up AWS bills or
Right.
OpenAI bills to like hundreds of that, like authentication issues or people just stealing keys, whatever it may be. And it's like those teams, these dev teams, or like the one that you're mentioning, like these were all guys that were proficient engineers already,
Right.
and now they're using AI to do that process where in their heads they already have the entire architecture, like they know how it should be built out, and are able to prompt AI in order to meet those requirements.
Right.
And that is vastly different than for me even using something like Lovable to create a project or something and trying to get that into production. Like there's a vast difference. And I think as the years and months, days, weeks, whatever progress, like that gap will start to get smaller and smaller and smaller. But I don't know if I don't see it happening yet where they become one.
Right. Yeah. I not yet. I do agree with you that there are a lot of issues with, vibe coding if you don't know really what you're getting yourself into. But I am bullish on the AI agent side of things when it comes to vibe coding. So, like to give you an example, if you were to prompt, Lovable or a Cursor, and then have, a team of agents that essentially acted like, senior software engineers to check the code, or it went through some kind of like editing process through an agent or multiple agents. I could see that actually working out really well. I know that from my own experience, like using agents have been, especially because I use, and I've told you this before, I use this tool called Flowwith, and it's essentially like having multiple chat GPTs work for you at the same time. It's really interesting to watch it work because instead of just having a single chat, you're giving it a prompt and then it's breaking down that prompt into multiple layers. And then each of the agents is going and working on different layers. And then they kind of talk to each other and come together to create whatever it is, whether it's a document or give you the information. That's where I see AI going. I think and you'll probably agree with me, that we're really in the infancy, stage of AI. And I look at the next iteration of AI, not just AI agents, but multiple AIs working on a single task. And I think once we move fully over to that, that's when it'll go from anyone can prompt anything and get a web app or, a mobile app that, can be fairly complex and may not need, a lot of human interaction to actually check or edit or anything like that.
Yeah, because right now it's still like an average inquiry into a complex platform will result in more bugs than it would be providing fixes or additional features, which then requires someone to prompt 10 times more to just fix those bugs that it then created. And it's like that cascading effect of fixing this thing that opens these three things, but then fixing one of those three things opens two more things.
Right.
Yada, yada. But yeah, I could see a future like the swarm concept.
Yeah, yeah.
It attacks it. And like technically thinking about how that would work is quite interesting because it's interesting to think about that because that's not really how they all work now in terms of prediction of text and of code and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now it's just one AI working. But if you can imagine it, and some of these tools like Flowith is just one, but there's a lot of these tools like Manus, and they're kind of, pushing what is you can currently do with a lot of these AI tools. And that is really where I think we're going to start to unlock like the next level of AI when we kind of already see it with a lot of the reasoning models like o3 Pro. I love both of those models, but Gemini's 2.5 Pro model, it's a reasoning model. It's incredible. It's so good. It's so smart. And so if you're able to combine those reasoning models in almost like a chain with other agents or other reasoning models where one can work on one thing and then check its work, or you can break up the task and then they can all come together, I think it's going to be like revolutionary. I think that could be like the next step. But obviously these already use a lot of like GPU power or compute. So that's just the next level.
Yeah. Can you imagine how much API token cost it would be to have a swarm of o3 Pro? Like,
right. And what's funny is like we might look back at this podcast episode in like 3 years and be like, oh, like they were just using one. They like we had like a swarm of these, and it's like when you look back on like dial-up internet or anything, and you're just like, how did they ever get on the internet?
Or even like Google search like that. I
Right.
always joke with friends now, like Gen Alpha is going to be like, you guys used to search things in Google and like go to different webs, like you used to click on different websites and try that you had to find answers, like and cavemen, like
right. It's funny that you bring that up because I do try to think about how the next generation will actually interact with computers and the internet. And I think one of the things that we're going to all slowly move toward or move away from, I should say, is typing. I don't know, have you used Whisk or Aqua or any kind of those transcription? I started using not Whisk, Whisperflow.
Yeah.
I started using Whisperflow a few weeks back. It's been night and day. Like I am working at least 2 to 3 times more efficiently because I'm able to just get my thoughts out. And this is really helpful with working with like an AI because it doesn't need to be perfect. Like you're not emailing someone like formally or anything like that. So when I'm like trying to get my thoughts out and work with ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, I literally just press a button, start rambling, and then I just tell it to go. And it feels so much more like you're talking with like an assistant, or you're having like a back and forth with an assistant. And to anyone who hasn't used any of these transcription tools like Whisperflow or Aqua, or even just like using the free ones that are built in, it's night and day. Like I would 100% recommend that, because I think like what we were talking about before with dial up or Google, I think people are going to look back on typing and be like, I can't believe you wasted so much time typing to talk to an AI or get to a website or whatever it is.
Yeah. Do you use the feature where it will clean up your input before it sends it?
No. Which one do you use? Whisperflow or Aqua or?
I think it's Super Whisper.
Okay, no, I don't use that one, but
Let's see.
I will check it out. What does it do?
So it essentially will, because like I'll do the same things where I'm like rambling and then I'm talking, maybe just like not nonsensically, so to speak. Let's see, where is it?
And so, and then it'll, you can just press a button and it'll essentially clean it up or like turn it
Yeah.
into a prompt or something.
Yeah, so like the one, where is it? I to be honest, I use it more on my laptop than where I'm at right now with my
Yeah.
desktop. And then I created I use another program like Carabin Tools, I think it's called, where like I can set a macro
Okay,
where it
shortcut.
replaced the other one on my keyboard, to where I just press that one button and then it opens up the transcription tool.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what I have it set just so I can press the FN tool on my Mac keyboard and it pops right up. And what's great is it's instant. Like there's no lag. So even when it's doing the transcription, it's under a second. It's like a few hundred milliseconds. So
Yeah.
you're not waiting around for it to transcribe and get something right. And it does a 95% good job. I'd give it a solid like A minus. Sometimes it messes things up, but like for the most part, I'm not going back and forth and like on my mouse trying to like edit things or anything like that. And even if I do, especially if I'm writing an email, that's a different story. But if I'm just talking with ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, like I don't need it to be perfect. I need it to just get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I've realized too is like that is super useful when we're sitting in our houses and there's no one around us. But
Yeah.
like, what happened? Like going into a coffee shop, which I try to do every so often. Like,
Yeah. It's a different story.
ChatGPT, shut up.
Yeah. Write this email for me. Why is that
exactly.
crazy guy talking to himself?
Yeah, yeah. If they only knew.
Yeah, right. I'm vibe
Yeah.
coding. You don't know.
Yeah. I'm like, leave me alone. I'm vibe coding. Oh
Yeah.
my god, what's
It's
that?
yeah. Yeah, it's funny. We talk about a lot of these things, and then I go out into the real world and I try to have like conversations, and then people look at me like, "What do you talk?" Like I was at a family reunion, which is why I was in Colorado, and I was trying to like talk to people about this stuff, and they were like looking at me like, "What are you even saying?" Like it was like I was speaking another language. But thankfully, like one of the guys who was there. He's a contractor, and he kind of like caught on. He's like kind of techie too, and so what he does renderings right for houses that he's building, and so I was like, hey man, can you like send me over some of your renderings? I'd love to. Run them through like an AI image generator to see if I could like do anything cool with them, like turn them into realistic renderings or anything like that. And at first he was like, "What are you talking about?" And then I showed him like actually turning, or I showed him some of the AI image generators, and then he like after the vacation emailed me or text messaged me and was like, hey, like, dude, I turned them into like realistic like renderings and they looked amazing.
That's all it takes. It's like the aha moment for that person's life, and like what is that like? We're talking about vibe coding or writing email, like all these different things. But like once you see it for your business or your use case or your life, that's when the light bulb goes off, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, like it makes all the sense in the world now, and it's like Like, yeah, like
Right.
we've been trying to tell you this
Yeah,
for a
yeah. And so I
couple
think
years
we
now.
we try to do this with our content. At least I try to do it with my content where I'm trying to show people like the aha moment. And sometimes it almost comes across like I try not to do this, but it almost comes off like a gimmicky or like this there's no way this could actually be real because a lot of these things, especially with like these image generation tools or these vibe coding tools, they work almost like magic. So it's
Yeah.
like the hook for the video is like, hey, I just typed a few words and I just got a web app that can do X, Y, and Z. So like people, I think, might hear that and be like, what? Like, there's no way that that could possibly like be real. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
And it's tough too because you want to have an engaging hook to get them to watch the video, which that is, that's basically what that is. But then on the other side, if you were like, if you didn't do that, then they're not only not getting the AI aha moment, then they're just not watching the video. And then it's
right.
like, well, so it's like I get why people are, I don't know, like maybe annoyed, but with that, but I'm like, that's how the algorithm works, guys. Like
Yeah.
that's just what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
100%.
for me, with some content updates, I've now reused the same B-roll video of me drinking from my cup 10 times, and
I
it's
mean, if
gone
it works,
viral every single time.
yeah,
Like,
man, keep milking it.
I'm like, what? I don't even need to reshoot another one. Like, I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
put different text on screen, and it's ripping.
You got it. Yeah. I say milk it for as long as possible, as well
Right?
as do the trial reel strategy
Oh
with
yeah,
all of
they're
them.
ripping on trial reels.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, man.
yeah,
Whatever works, milk it for as long as possible.
exactly. And it's like it's the best of all the worlds. It's so easy for me to make them.
Right.
They get so much engagement. I'm getting a ton of followers. I'm
That's
getting a ton
awesome.
of people opting in. I'm like, do I just never make other types of videos ever
Well,
again?
no, it's funny that you say that because I know that there are a lot of like AI theme pages and theme pages in general that they find a format that works and then they just keep using it. So
Yep.
like that's why I say like if that format works, milk it because you can then take that and like just do what you're doing, like just add different text or like find small little like different variations where you
Yeah.
can just keep that format going because like we don't really know like what it is that at least I don't really know like what it is that people are going to respond to until like it goes through the algorithm and then I see like what they respond to. So when you find something like that, it's like just
Yeah.
keep it alive.
How quickly can you tell when a video is like gonna pop off? Like what is your timeline or metric that you look at?
Honestly, the initial views that it gets usually is a good indication, and because
Within
it
what
goes
time period?
probably like the first like hour to two, I can start to get a feeling of like whether it'll start to pop off or not.
Yeah.
And then because it's going out to like the not trial, but like the audience that like kind of tests it. And if it does well with that test audience, then it'll, go out to the rest of the audience. Um, and honestly, shares are usually a good indication because that means that I'm saying something that people feel like is worth sending to other people. So if I see an early indication of shares, that's really when I know okay, this will start to pop off. But even then, sometimes like I'm like, oh, okay, I'll go to bed and I'll wake up to 50,000 views or whatever, and then sometimes it's like, oh, it got 100 shares, but for some reason it only has like 5,000 views or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've started to notice that too, where in the first 24 hours, the ratio, regardless of the amount of views, even if it has a lot of views, it'll be 80 to 90% followers. But as views increase, that ratio changes to be more to non-followers.
Yeah,
I think as it pushes out of my follower cohort
yeah,
to new people, which is like a very interesting thing because it also tells me that, and that's a good piece of like evidence as to why followers don't matter
Yeah,
anymore, really, when it
unfortunately.
comes to viral content, because my followers aren't even seeing my content.
Yeah.
It's
It is
maybe
crazy.
that's
Like followers mean nothing anymore. Like all it's just every single video
yeah,
essentially stands on its own. And it's good and bad. It's good in that like that means anyone can step up to the plate and even if other people in the industry have or the niche that you're in have millions of followers, you could come in with zero, and if you have content that resonates and gets
yeah.
views, you're good. But on the other hand, it's like, well, why do I even like followers just don't matter, so like why even follow me? You know what I mean?
And that's us saying that from a place of having them,
Yeah,
which is always an interest. Like, I remember, starting out and coming up and hearing not the same thing, but like uh, the similar concept where it's like, yeah, I understand that you're saying that, but you're saying that from a position of having that thing, which
right.
makes it seem like you're kind of like BSing it, or that concept in general. But I think it's within the context of of like whatever we're talking, like, so within the context of the algorithm, 100% doesn't matter. But then we flip context to something like authority or social proof
Sure.
or
Yeah.
brand deals and things. That's like, yeah, that still very much matters. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's the difference, because I always hear that too, like, oh, like, oh, shut up, Ross, like, just like because you have them. Like, well, yeah, but I didn't always.
Yeah, yeah. No, and this is a bit of like me complaining about things I shouldn't complain about, but it's
Exactly
very
that.
nice to have, followers, and
Yeah,
I appreciate all of them, even the ones that leave negative comments because it's good for the algorithm.
exactly. Thank you, haters and trolls. Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. Any good content or accounts or anything that you've seen this week?
Um, to be honest, because I've been off the grid, not really.
Yeah.
Only because I got back and then I instantly was like, "Oh, I have a million things to do." So yeah, no, nothing like amazing. The only thing I will say is you can now use VO3's image to video feature, and it adds audio to the video, and you didn't used to be able to do that. So I'm really, really interested to see how people use this. One, because you now have character consistency across videos, which you didn't have before. But two, I think we're going to see some crazy videos that are going to make it past, the filters of whatever, and we're going to see like crazy videos of famous people or politicians or whoever saying things that they should not be saying in a
Oh,
very realistic way.
got it. Okay, so it's character consistency because the input image is the same character.
Yeah, that's correct.
Got it.
I
Got it.
also
Got
think
it.
we're going to see some amazing things because VO3 is just an incredible video model.
Do you think Grok 4 will have video generation?
Possibly. I'm really, really impressed with Grok. I don't use it as much as I should. But I used it for recently for trying to generate some ideas for videos. And I love the fact that it can pull from like Twitter or X or whatever too. So
Yeah.
I'm very excited about Grok 4.
Yeah. I think they're doing the release today,
Yeah,
maybe
soon. I think they
soon.
have a live stream soon.
Soon, yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw at the F1 movie last night.
Oh, I really want to see that. Is it good?
It's good.
I
If
love I love Brad Pitt. I mean, I was watching Fight Club on the plane on the
he's
plane
got
ride home.
so much swag, and
Yeah,
he's just like so cool.
right.
Like
How can you not
he
love him?
he exactly. Yeah. Definitely, and it's definitely one of those movies that you want to go see in the theater because the sound design and
Oh,
the
nice.
soundtrack. Hans Zimmer did the soundtrack.
Oh, wow.
It's really good. Like, it's definitely a campy summer blockbuster movie, but uh, it's 2.5 hours, and I was like, ugh, like a freaking long movie.
Wow.
Didn't feel long at all. Like, it's one of those
Oh,
ones that just keep like it's constant kind of action, so to speak. And yeah, so I would definitely recommend going to check that out.
That's on the list. That and Superman this weekend because do you know who Nathan Fillion is?
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah,
one of my,
Firefly.
he follows me on Instagram.
Really?
I have no idea why. But yeah, and I know he's in that movie, and also Superman just happens to be like one of my favorite like superheroes.
Yep.
So F1, I might be seeing two, double feature
Back
this
to back?
weekend because I really want to see both of those movies.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Firefly?
I did not. My wife is like a mega fan and she's been wanting me to watch it for so long. So one day, like I woke up and you probably do the same thing. You check Instagram, whatever. And I saw in the priority tab on Instagram, it'll show you. And I saw Nathan Fillion. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And it's cool, right? To me, but like I showed my wife and she freaked out.
Yeah. Freaked out. Yeah. I would put that on your list too. It's such a good. It's like one of those shows I'll come back because there's only one season of it, so
Right.
it's like one of those ones I'll come back to every now and then and again. It's like kind of like visiting some old friends,
Right,
type,
right, right.
type vibe. But
All right. Yeah, that goes on the list.
that's a classic. Yeah, and then the movie Serenity that came after the show.
Right. That was like the follow up to Firefly.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's on the
all-
list.
it's all good. Cool.
Cool, man.
Well, yeah, this was a great catch up. We'll see what Musk and Grok 4 release later in a couple hours.
Yeah.
Have something to talk about for next week.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Cool.
All right, buddy.
Alrighty. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
We're out. See ya.